We may be heading into fall in the Midwest, but it is a warm day in Indianapolis. Lamborghini Super Trofeo from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 races this weekend, as we always have on Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America weekends. But this one is special because Indy, there's nothing like the Brickyard. That's right, all the drivers want to come here, and it doesn't matter which way you happen to be going on the racetrack, you want to cross that yard of bricks first. Long racetrack here and lots of passing opportunities, pretty wide as well, down the front straightaway into turn 1, down the Holman Boulevard into turn 7. Those are 2 high-speed, high-level braking zones where you can get a pass done. You're going to have to work to get it done in 12. And if you're really brave, maybe you can go side by side onto the front straightaway at Indy and take a victory. Looking down on the field in pit lane, welcome in everyone. It is an absolutely gorgeous day. Brian Till along with Jeremy Shaw will have all the action for you. And you can tell what bright sunshine down on this dark colored asphalt. That is gonna bring some high track temperature with it. In fact, over 100 degrees on the racetrack right now. Jeremy, Lamborghinis at Indy, pretty special place.
Well, yeah, it certainly is a special place. The racing capital of the world, of course, here in Speedway, Indiana, just to the west of downtown Indianapolis. And yeah, one of the great racetracks, one of the great, so much history here. And as you say, for the drivers, it's great just to be here, number one, but number two, yeah, to get a win here is something special. But look at this field of cars. Not quite as many as last time out, but that's probably good news, I think. I think we perhaps had too many at 43 last time out at Circuit Americas. Here, a much more manageable, one hopes, 35 car field, still massively competitive.
Yeah, 4 different classes of cars in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. I say classes, it's really classes of drivers, right, Jeremy? The cars, all the same, the exact same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, over 600 horsepower, right around 626-speed transmission, anti-lock brakes, traction control, but you've got a lot of horsepower to deal with, all going through the exact same Hankook tires. And tires really, Jeremy, a bit of a story just because of the high temperature, kind of unseasonably warm right now, and trying to keep the rubber on that Hankook tire may be a challenge today. You can't press too hard in the early going, or if you have a teammate, you may not give him any tires when you step out of the car.
Well, that's right, that's becoming a real issue, and it wasn't a problem here last year, but it is a big problem this year. It's significantly warmer, and a lot of teams are telling me that extra sort of 10 degrees or so has just made a huge difference. And once these tires build their heat, it's very difficult to dissipate that heat, and the tires start to slide, and then they lose a lot of grip. And between the two, there were 2 qualifying sessions this morning, as per usual. One 15 minutes to set the grid for today's race, and then a short gap, and another 15 minutes to set the grid for race 2, which will be tomorrow. There was a big speed drop off between those 2 sessions. Teams are not allowed to change tires between those 2 sessions, and the second session was about a second slower than the earlier one. So time management here is going to be absolutely critical, I think, during this race.
What a beautiful racetrack, and we talk about the 4 different classes of drivers. You can tell the difference in the cars when they're out there. Just look at the little color coding on the windscreen banner up in the right-hand corner. For the driver, you'll see a little triangle. That orange color is Pro, green indicates an AM driver or AM pairing. The Pro-Am is yellow, and LB Cup, the least experienced drivers in the field, with that blue triangle and windscreen, and the same color-coded, I'll call it a chiclet, on the rear bumper. So when you're coming up behind another car, you'll know what class you're with. And one of the things that race director Todd Snyder has really tried to press to these drivers is know the class of car you're racing with. You're out there mixed up together, and we've seen too many incidents as of late with cars not in the same class having incidents with each other, and that not only messes up your day, but it ruins the day for all the other competitors on the racetrack. We had a lot of full course cautions at Circuit of the Americas the last time out. We hope that is not the case here. The clock will start when we get ready to go green after the second of the 2 formation laps. So trying to get a little temperature and pressure into those Hankook tires, and you want to do it gradually. They've come across the control line, so now the clock has started. And we'll go green the next time by. This is what we've seen so far this season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. That clock starts at the end of the first formation lap, and then we'll go green the next time by. But Jeremy, The pit stops, which are mandatory, different length pit stops for a 2-driver pairing than a single driver format.
Yes, exactly right. And we just talked about then first of all about the 4 classes of driver, not car. We've got the pros, we've got the pro-ams, we've got the AMs and the LB Cup for those drivers pretty much just starting out in the sport. There's a total of 6 pro cars, 9 pro-ams, 13 AMs and 7 LB Cup. And it's your choice as to whether you have one driver to do the 50-minute race or 2 drivers to share during the 50 minutes. And between 20 and 30 minutes into this 50-minute race, there's a mandatory pit stop. And there is a minimum pit stop time for each car. That's time taken from when they enter the pit lane to when they exit the pit lane. And it's for the solo drivers, it's 115 seconds at minimum time, which gives you plenty of time to change the driving. You're not allowed to do anything else, you're not allowed to change tyres. What you can do is check the tyre pressure, but that's it, nothing else, no other work on the car. For 2-driver cars, the minimum pit stop time is 112 seconds, so 3 seconds less than from the dual drivers. The reason for that, well, the driver who's driving solo, he knows exactly how the car is handling, what the track conditions are like compared to the last time he drove it, so he can get straight back up to speed again, whereas somebody hopping into the car halfway through, they've got to learn that, and that is why there is that 3-second differential there. Let's look at the pole sitters in each of the classes. In LB Cup, Nick Grote will start on the pole position for One Motorsports in car number 57. He's 28th on the grid. The AM pole sitter is the championship leader, Anthony McIntosh for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. It's car number 69 in the 13th position. Pro-Am pole sitter for the second time in his career is Keon Tandon in car number 55 for 47 Motorsports, will start 6th. An all pole position for the first time in his career, car number 30 for Ansa Motorsports is a young Frenchman, Maurice Cabarrou, getting ready now for the start.
And we are ready for the start as the green flag waves. Great jump by the pole sitter Cabarrou aboard his Ansa Motorsports Lamborghini. Ansa filling out the front row, now down to turn 1, and it is getting crowded in the back. 3, 4 wide, down into that very tight turn 1. Dare I say it, Jeremy, but it looks like we've at least gotten through turn 1.
Don't say it, don't say it. Yeah, I think you might be right. Can they get through turn 3 or 4 as well? So far, so good. Gianno Torino in that bright red car. He tried to make a move on the outside for second position going to turn 1, but ran wide. He's dropped a couple of positions. So it's still Ansa Motorsports 1 and 2. Maurice Cabarrou leads. Nico Jumin in second position. And I think Danny Formal popping into 3rd position in car number 1 for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti.
Keon Tandon aboard that gray number 55, trying to work his way to the front. Everybody trying to get things sorted out a little bit. And now you've got to think about, how do I conserve the tire and still go quickly? I think that was John Capestro de Betz aboard the green and white Lamborghini with 2 wheels off. How do I conserve a little bit of that hand-cooked tire to make sure my teammate has something to work with when they take over? And how do I make sure I keep cars behind me all at the same time? That is the challenge here. Now the 8 beginning to really press. Nate Stacey, think about championships on the line in these different classes as well. Nate Stacey, Nick Fersing lead the championship in the Pro-Am standings, but Jeremy by only 2 points coming into the weekend.
I mean, it is super tight. All 4 classes are pretty competitive. In Pro, there's a bigger gap than most. It's actually a 6-point lead for Ernie Francis and Gianno Torino in that car number 88 over Ryan Norman and Danny Formal, who's driving number 1 car at the moment. In Pro-Am, just a 2-point differential between Nate Stacey and Nick Persey in car number 8 and Joel Miller and AJ Muss in car number 55. In Am, a 3-point advantage for Anthony McIntosh and Glenn McGee, who start on the pole position again. And in LB Cup, just 8-point advantage, the biggest of all, for Nick Grote for One Motorsports in the pole sitting car number 57. But still 3 races to go after today, 1 more tomorrow, and then it's the World Finals, which will take place in Spain in November at Jerez de la Frontera, just outside of Cadiz.
2 more rounds here in the States, the ones being contested right now. And speaking of being contested, John Capestro de Betz, JCD aboard that green, black, and white number 46, giving Luke Berkeley in the 64, the purple Lamborghini just in front of him, giving him fits, trying to get by. That is the battle for 3rd in the Pro-Am category. Andy Lee now aboard that bright pink number 14, beginning to close up on that. And the harder JCD and Luke Berkeley fight, the more that's going to give Andy Lee the opportunity to close up on those two. Two cars racing together, always slower than one car running alone. JCD up the inside, gets the position. Now the car in front of him is the number 8. That is Nate Stacey, the championship leader.
Yeah, that's right, and this is for the lead in the Pro-Am class. It's we've got Pro cars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the road, and then Pro-Am cars from 7th through 13th. So great to see that class split really working in the early stages here. And then behind the Pro-Am contenders in 14th is the first of 6 consecutive AM cars. So some really good battles here developing in the early stages. But as you say, I think they're going to have to be really careful not to burn off these Hankook tyres too soon.
Little push and shove out on the racetrack. As competitive as this series is, you would expect that. This is down in turn 1, the 29 works his way through, slides a little wide, and then it's like, well, maybe I'll return the favor. 69 trying to get back by. That's Anthony McIntosh aboard the blue, pink, and black number 69 from Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. This battle continues, though, and Jeremy, I think about John Capestro DeBetz and his teammate Tom Capizzi. They were really strong last year, and while they've had a couple of pole positions this year, they only have one top 5 finish. That's surprising to me.
Well, yeah, that is true. And generally speaking, they're running much more competitively than that on a consistent basis. But look, there's some super battles going on here. You saw that battle there between Martin Fuentes, who's making his return to the championship. He's done some races in the past, but not for several years. He'd be sharing that number 29 car for TR3 Racing with Peter Ludwig, making his debut in this championship this weekend. Steve Lerniker has been for him, and that pushes Anthony McIntosh, then the championship leader, down to 3rd position because ahead of both of them is number 17 car for Top Racing. That's Al Morey from Indianapolis.
I think the last 2 rounds at Circuit of the Americas really jumbled most of the championships. We saw leaders with problems. The 14 of Slade Stewart and Andy Lee drop from the championship lead back to 3rd in the Pro-Am category. So anything can happen any weekend, and the way this point structure works, 15 points to win, then 12, then 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 through the top 10. There's not a lot of points differential, so even when you have a good weekend and your nearest competitor has a bad weekend, if they finish certainly in the top 5, you're not going to be pulling away in leaps and bounds. So you've got to be consistent every weekend. That's the way you win a championship in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. And interestingly enough, Jeremy, you talked about conserving these Hankook tires, especially the 64 of Luke Berkeley, that beautiful purple number 64. Saw him sliding around a lot as he was trying to keep John Capestro DeBetz behind him. Now he's fallen back into the clutches of the 14 of Andy Lee just behind, and I wonder if he has pushed too hard too soon on those tires and has begun to heat them up a little bit, because he just doesn't seem to have great grip in that 64.
Does he? The car was seemed to be sliding around again, sliding around a bit there, but he did set his best lap last time around, so clearly hasn't lost that pace just yet. But again, some super battles here, all the way up and down the field. There's the number 34 moving his way forward. Farther back in the pack there, Rodrigo Valles for TR3 Racing. He won the LB Cup, both of the events in Circuit of the Americas.
Pretty late mood.
I'm here, here I am.
Valles down from the inside, and you see the contact. It comes from a long way back, and that's a big hit as well on John Hirschberg aboard the number 86. Hirschberg isn't going to like that, and like I said, Jeremy, that came from a long way back. Several car lengths in between them. Hirschberg had already turned in for the corner, and the 34 just said, I'm going. And a lot of times you get in there and you can't get it slowed down because you're in the ABS, you're down on the dirty part of the racetrack, and it's not going to slow down any better than that. And I think Hirschberg is suffering because of that contact.
Yeah, and it wasn't very gentlemanly, was it, for Rodrigo there. He's, last weekend was his first weekend driving solo. He generally shared that number 34 car with Rogelio Perugia. Those two have been long time friends, high school friends, and they're now, well, a good bit older in life, both of them now. But last time out, Rodrigo drove solo and came away with 2 class wins. looking to get the third one here, but right at the moment he's running in the third position in LB Cup.
And that was the 66
Well, that's the
that was
championship
around.
Yeah, that's number 66, and that's running second in the championship. That's AJ Muss. Let's see what happened to AJ, the former snowboarder.
Oh, he gets pushed way wide to the outside as well. I couldn't quite get a number on that car. But turn one is a place where it feels like you can get in there deep, and if you get in there too deep, you can't get it slowed, you can't get it turned, and I think that's exactly what happened to AJ Muss down there aboard the 66.
I think so. It might have been Alboy, the Amley. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Well, it was the 19 that got into the side of him, and right now, the incidents that we saw a few moments ago between the 34 and the 86, and now the 66 and the 19, both of those incidents in turn one are under review.
It's 19 or 17? Do we have a 19?
Oh, I didn't think, well, I'm reading the timing screen, it says 19, so it must be a typo on race control's part.
Yeah, I think it was a 17, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll wait and see for confirmation on that one. But meanwhile, out front, really good, consistent pace being turned by our race leader, Loris Cabarrou, just 19 years of age, from Générag in sort of south-central France, north of Montpellier, which is on the south coast, but 40-50 miles north of there. And look, he's been a bit of a revelation this year as young Loris Cabarrou. This is his first pole position, and he's running away out front.
And you got to really think, Jeremy, you know, how hard do I want to press? Because it doesn't really matter how much you win a race by, right? I mean, you don't get bonus points for that. And you know you need some tires with 37 minutes to go. So full course caution brings everybody right back up to you. I think a comfortable lead of a couple of seconds is about all you want. And then you kind of need to find a steady pace to run if you want to conserve.
That's absolutely right. But those and some motorsports cars have been really hooked up this weekend. It's Tim Neff who's the engineer on those cars this season, and he certainly gives those guys a really good setup. He knows, I mean, he's a master in setup, is Tim, from Australia originally. Skippy, as he's known, runs some cars also in open wheel racing as well. There's a big off-course excursion.
I think that's Martin Fuentes.
Martin Fuentes again, isn't it? Yeah. He's having an eventful run.
Martin always has eventful runs.
Well, that's true.
I've known him for a long time. Very good race car driver, and certainly not shy about putting it on the edge. And of course, when you put it on the edge, sometimes you step over. No harm, no foul there, right? And a good runoff in turn 7, gets the car slowed down. And the racetrack here is almost like a golf course. Of course, there is a golf course around the racetrack, but it is so smooth, able to get that car back underway and back on track, so no harm, no foul. Good to see Martin back in the series, along with, like you said, Peter Ludwig, who makes his Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American debut.
Yeah, and excited to do so as well from New Paltz in New York, just outside of Poughkeepsie. But here's this good midfield battle here with a whole string of cars. Looks like a couple of that's Sam Shee running kind of a 98 just behind AJ Muss, who's slipped back now to 8th position in Pro-Am in kind of 66. So after that spin a little while ago, he's got a lot of work to do. He'll be handing over that car to Joel Miller, who will start on the pole position for tomorrow's race. And again, coming into this weekend, just 2 points out of the championship lead in the Pro-Am category.
Well, let's talk championships for just a minute. In the Pro category, it's Ernie Francis and Gianno Torino. Where do they run right now? 4th is what I see on timing and scoring. So right now for Danny Formal, doing what he needs to do in that #1 from Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti, he and Ryan Norman need to finish in front of the 88 if they want to close down on this championship. They're only 6 points back coming into Indianapolis. So right now, the day going the way they want to see it go. Of course, they want to continue to move forward to the front right now, get as many cars as they can between themselves and the 88. And then you go to the Pro-Am category, where Nate Stacey and Nick Persing lead that championship. They're running 3rd right now. The good news for them, Jeremy, is the 2 cars in front of them are well behind them in the championship, so that's not going to create any problems there. In the AMP category, Al Mori being shown in the 17 with the lead right now, but I'm looking at penalties coming up 34 will get an incident responsibility penalty, a 10-second post-race penalty. They're still working on the 66 and 17, so we'll see if Al Morey's lead could go away very quickly. Anthony McIntosh sitting there in second. He and Glenn McGee lead that championship, so they're in control there. And Nick Grote, talk about in control at LB Cup. He's been there all year long.
Yeah, he's been very impressive in his first season. Good look there at the battle for the Pro-Am lead coming into turn one. Look on the outside goes John Capestro du Bet. See car number 46, but number 55 car Kjorn Tanden just about holds on there, keeping his a nice, you know, he wasn't blocking, he was just holding it a more inside line, slightly defensive line, but driving really well. He's keeping that car nice and as straight as he possibly can, trying not to stress these Hankook tyres too much. And Kjorn Tanden, for as relatively little experience as he has, the youngster from California, from Calabasas, California. He's 21 years of age now, but he's driving a really nice race here to hold off John Capestro du Bet, who's made up several positions during this race. He started 9th. Well, he's actually made up one. I guess he lost a few positions he lost a position or two on the opening lap. Now trying to get that Pro-Am lead back again. The 55 car is under a lot of pressure.
Brian Till, Jeremy Shaw with you. Lamborghini Super Trofeo from the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The penultimate round in the U.S. this year. Still 2 rounds to go in the World Championships, the World Finals from Spain. The last 2 times we will see Lamborghini here in North America this season. Today's race and race number 2 tomorrow. Right now, John Capestro du Bet aboard the number 46. Trying to put the pressure, and he is putting the pressure on Kjorn Tanden, the 47 Motorsports driver in that gray number 55. JCD alongside in the braking zone again. Side by side, a little contact. Cannot get it done, and I think it's a really interesting driver pairing in the 55. Hannah Grisham will take that car over from Kjorn Tanden during the pit stop. It's her first go in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but we have seen her in different sports cars throughout the U.S. this year. Very talented young lady, and it'll be interesting to see how she deals with the beast that this Lamborghini is when she gets her turn behind the wheel.
Yeah, look at JCD moving that car left to right across the racetrack. I think as much as anything else, that was to kind of maybe throw off some of the clag that you have built up, and he ran wide on the exit of the turn 5-6 chicane. And that's track limits is a factor here. The race stewards have been pretty hard on drivers, certainly during practice yesterday, in penalising drivers that run wide on the exit of turn 6, which JCD clearly did on that lap, ran a long way wide.
Wow.
By doing so, of course, he carries a lot of speed through that corner. So you know, it's an advantage, or can be an advantage, and that is something that race control is adamant that should not happen, gaining an unfair advantage by running off the racetrack.
Got a slow car on the racetrack. That is the 28 off the pace. Jackson Lee trying to limp back around. Jackson Lee from nearby Avon, just about 30 minutes west of here, has grown up around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, around the IndyCar Series. His father, Kevin Lee, broadcaster for NBC on the IndyCar Series of networks, so a lot of experience in motorsports, and really kind of getting an opportunity here that he didn't know he was going to get until last week. He and Colin Mullen, both of these drivers you know well, Jeremy, because both of them are part of Team USA scholarship.
That's true, yeah. Young drivers who started off in the open wheel ranks, they got an opportunity to go over to race in England as a result of that support from the Team USA scholarship, and it's purely coincidental that they're driving here together, but they know each other well. Well, Colin was a winner of the scholarship a couple of years before Jackson Lee, but they were excited about the opportunity that was given by Alliance Racing this weekend. So a really disappointing early end to this race for them. Hopefully they can come back tomorrow and get back to grips and really get their feet wet in these cars.
Yeah, disappointing if they can't get that Lamborghini back out on track, but you got to learn your lessons, and really for the entire team, it's a new team to this series, and these cars very different than Alliance Motorsports has been used to running. Predominantly an open wheel team and a lot of talent on that team. But again, very different cars, very complicated from an electronic standpoint. Good battles here, and traffic is stacking up, waiting for the pit window, and I believe it should be open, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think it is now. 20 minutes have elapsed in the race. We're seeing a whole bunch of midfield cars coming into the pit lane now. I think the first to come into pits is kind of 8, who was running in the 9th position. That is the leader in the Pro-Am class. So Nate Stacey brings that car in, and it will be Nick Persley who takes it out. Number 48 also into the pit lane. That's David Starr making his, well, he made one race earlier this season. Generally it's his brother Michael who's been driving this season, but Michael not here this weekend. Instead David has an opportunity to get back into one of these Lamborghinis. Had some success in the Am class a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Michael, his brother, like we were talking about, he's currently 3rd in the championship in LB Cup, but not here this weekend, so obviously that will change. Look at this! And I don't know whether the 64 was planning on coming to pit lane, but Andy Lee sits him there, and so now they can go ahead and get that stop done. Luke Berkeley had been being a pest for Andy Lee, much like we saw the same of Keon Tandon and John Capestro de Betz, but Andy Lee looks down the inside, they make contact. Now take a look at this. Yeah, I'll just go right on in. Like I said, yeah. I'm not sure he was coming in, Jeremy. I don't think he was, but you know, the great thing is you can make the best of a bad situation there, because with that pit entry right there, it was right in front of him, and I think he knows the pit window's open, so hey, I'm coming.
Yeah, right, exactly, and yeah, kind of interesting move certainly by Andy Lee there, and poked his nose in, and good thinking I think by Luke Berkeley to bring that car onto the pit lane. Probably didn't have much choice at that stage, but hopefully his co-driver is ready to take over. That'll be Garrett Adams, who takes over for the 2nd stint in this race. Meanwhile, that battle for the Pro-Am class has now been elevated to what is the 4th position overall. That 55 car of Keon Tandon from 47 Motorsports, that the gunmetal car with the white and green of John Capestro right behind him for Precision Performance Motorsports. And again, look into the outside line here. Can he hold on around the outside in 13? Not quite. Nice try, JCD.
Yeah, if he could have, it may have given him the inside line here and the run down to turn 1, but he's going to get a better run off of 14 anyway, I believe. But what can he do with it? Keon Tandon has covered every move that he's made in turn 1. Not close enough this time. But I'll tell you what, I've watched John Capestro de Betz or JCD for years, and a mistake right there by Tandon, and that allows it through. And what I was about to say, Jeremy, was I've watched JCD for years, and this is what he is known for. He is relentless, but he is remarkably patient and clean. Not a mark on those cars, and Tandon jumps the apex curb, and JCD goes beyond track limits on the way out. So the officials are going to have to look at that. I think the 55 may have been behind the apex curbing, and Andy Lee now slots between the two of them.
Yeah, that's right. So this is now a 3-car battle for the lead in the Pro-Am class, with that the pink unicorn of Andy Lee there has split those two. Let's have again and see what happens there. Yeah, there was a slower car on the way at Steven Sobaro, I think it was, who's kind of in the way for the number 46 guy. He has to run wide, but look, it's up to him to read the traffic. You can't blame the traffic.
That's interesting, and speaking of interesting, the incident between the 64 and the 14 of Andy Lee, when we saw the 64 get pushed out of the way there in turn 12 and then head to pit lane. That incident is under review, and I'm sure they're going to look at what we just saw there with the 46 and the 55. 14 just took advantage of it, but I'm curious as to the 55 and the apex. Nope, he wasn't over it. Right side tires were on it. I thought from the shot that we had, Jeremy, that he was behind that apex curve, but that shot looked like it was right side tires on the curb, no problem.
Yeah, looked fine to me, didn't it? Absolutely right, and he just read it really well, and unfortunately JCD didn't read it quite so well. He just was carrying too much speed into the corner. He thought that he was going to have space to get around number 94 car that was being lapped, but did not, and had to run wide. Yeah, costly for him. He's brought that car on to, no, actually, Dubets has not pitted. The number 55 car, Contanen, has just come into the pit lane, and the number 30 car is here we are now. He's into the pit lane now. This is 17 laps that will be completed by Loris Cabarro. Way out in the lead, he's extended his lead to over 4 seconds, with several of the other contenders having already made their pit stops. Number 4 car was in on lap 14, so 3 laps ago. He was running in second position. Number 1 car came in on the following lap. He had been running in third, and the number 88 car, which was behind both of them, he came in on that lap 14 as well. So they made their driver changes. Here now goes that driver swap with Loris Cabarro clambering out, and Bryson Morris, another youngster, 2 teenagers, sharing this number 30 car, hops in aboard for the final, 23 minutes of this race.
Well, I'm wondering about what I'm seeing here with this pit stop, Jeremy. That car's not in the pit box, and I think that could be a problem. The officials are going to look at that. I don't know, because I see equipment over the wall, so maybe it's okay, but typically, obviously, in a WeatherTech race, you would have to be across the line. He is well out into the pit lane, and it's disconcerting to me.
Yeah, fair comment.
Pit stops going on. We understand the 14, Andy Lee and Slade Stewart will have a 10-second post-race penalty for that contact with the 64 when Andy Lee got into that right rear. That move there into, I believe it's turn 12, turn 13. And you got to race and try to make up 10 seconds somewhere, which is incredibly hard to do. Now, why is Slade Stewart coming to pit road? Here's the contact that we were talking about.
No, that car had not yet pitted.
Oh, okay.
That's...
I was afraid he was serving a penalty he didn't need to serve on pit road, but Andy Lee had not pitted yet.
No, he'd stayed out, so he becomes pretty much, there's a couple of cars that have pitted. Number 46 car stays out 1 more lap. Yeah, he's got enough time to do 1 more lap. He's got another 2 minutes before the pit stop window closes, unless of course there is a full course caution, in which case their strategy would be completely hosed. So number 14 car does come in, 18 laps in the books for him. Number 46 car stays out 1 more lap, so will be the overall leader on this lap, and he'll be hoping now there isn't a full course caution, because if there was to be a full course caution, see number 24 car pulling off the road, if there were to be a full course caution, the pits would be closed.
That's Seth Lucas aboard the 24. He has damaged left front wheel, not turning, and the 29 involved with it as well. Martin Fuentes, Peter Ludwig in the 29, not exactly sure what happened. It's Ludwig who's behind the wheel of the 29 right now.
Both of those two running in the AM class. Seth Lucas, the youngster, who was originally listed in the Pro class, but he's only 18 years of age, but he's driving in the WeatherTech race in an LMP2 car this weekend, for goodness sake. But he's classified as an AM for this week, and has got that car going again, making his debut in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. But, as you say,
obviously there's damage to the left front. The left front wheel is not turning, so he's just dragging it along the pavement. Of course, the problem is it's not going to take long before it's out of air. What Seth needs to do is try to find an orange overlap or the chicane up here on the right instead of going left into turn 6. If he can get to the right side of the road, he can get it pulled out of the way, and we won't have to go full course caution. But you said those dreaded words, Jeremy, and as soon as you did, the incident happened. Now, he must have had some type of a issue with the brake caliper, because now it has righted itself, and that wheel rolling, and Seth Lucas does a great job and gets it out of harm's way.
Yeah, hats off to Seth Lucas there for getting that car out of harm's way. No need for full course caution. And in any case, even if there is a caution, number 46 car has made it onto pit lane, so they're legal. I think that's the last of the cars that come into the to make its scheduled pit stop, and so now it'll be, I think, next on the road will be Bryson Morris in car number 30. That's number 42 of Kevin Madsen, who's a little bit farther down the order, but running in the, having a battle of his own. Well, just about everybody's having some sort of battle during this race.
Yeah, kind of. We knew it would be exciting in turn one at the start. Everybody managed to get through there. Then we had some push and shove, a little bump and run from time to time, but amazingly clean. And now we've got new drivers in the car. They're going to go have to discover it for themselves and see what this racetrack is like. And more importantly, what kind of car did your teammate leave you? It's one thing to go out there and run fast, but if you burn down the car doing it, your teammate's not going to buy you dinner when he gets in and is in a car that's not being so nice to him. So we'll see what the second drivers have. Remember, some of these drivers in a single driver pairing, they already know the car. They know the racetrack. They know how they've driven the car. So that's why that mandatory pit stop is 3 seconds longer for them, because of the familiarity that they have with both the equipment and the circuit as they head back out.
Yeah, and here's the look at the, that's the second place car in the LB Cup category. Just Rookie T. Boulder in kind of 99, just ahead of the number 34 car, which is Rodrigo Varles, who, where is he? Is that a battle for position on the racetrack? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But the car ahead, that the purple and red car here is number 57. That's Nick Grote, who is leading the LB Cup class, as he has done pretty much throughout this race. But when it came across the stripe last time around, there was only a couple of tenths of a second between Nick Grote and Rocky T. Baldock in that number 99 car, who's chasing hard in second place. Just his second ever race weekend, I think his third ever race weekend.
Third, yeah.
For Rocky T, and doing a really, really nice job for top racing in that kind of a 99.
Well, he joined the series, remember, back at Watkins Glen, and he had 2 top 5 finishes there. Now, granted, the LB Cup category doesn't have 15 or 20 drivers in it, but still a good top 5 run in both of those races there. But it was at Circuit of the Americas last time out where he scored his first podium in the class. He was second there in race number 2, and he's putting on a great drive here. And I'll be honest, Jeremy, I want Rocky to win a race because I want to be able to say that was sweet.
Yeah.
Being that his family is in the maple syrup business, I just had to throw a dad joke in there, right?
Very good maple syrup. He's from Canada originally, but makes his home now in Vermont. That's where the Baldock Farms.
Oh, that was late.
Oops.
That was crazy late.
Wasn't that?
That was
car number
Nick
8,
Persing.
wasn't it, who hit it? Yes, the championship leader against one of his rivals for the championship, running in 3rd position in the class, is Slade Stewart in that pink unicorn car number. Well, you can't miss that car. Car number 14 for finalists in those sports. That looked to me like he got a punt from the championship leader. That could be a very costly mistake by car number 8.
That could be huge. I don't see how this couldn't elicit a response from race control. So I'm sure it will be looked at. I'm just waiting for the message to come up on the screen. But take a look here.
There's no way. I mean, well, it's not even close. It turned 10 there, and he just lunged down the inside. Wasn't even close. And Slade Stewart doing exactly what you have to do there. It's turned into the corner. And all of a sudden, there's another car diving down the inside. Now, I'm sorry, that's a poorly judged move there by Nick Persing. That was just not necessary. He's got the pace over Slade Stewart, who's relatively new to this sport. Only been doing it for a couple of years. He won the LB Cup category in his first season a couple of years ago. But for Nick Persing, that was completely uncalled for. I'd say he's a lot faster in outright pace. He just needed to be patient, and that was what he did not have there. Nick Persing calibrated for sure. I think that's going to get him a penalty.
And the message up on the timing and scoring screen, it is under review. So still 15 minutes to go in this race. If the officials are going to do something, they have plenty of time to look at the video and do it. I think part of the problem with a pass like that or an attempt like that, Jeremy, and we see it a lot, in different kinds of racing, and you even saw it right there. There's just too much space between the two cars laterally. You don't want that much space. You want to be right up against, a few feet away from the car that you're trying to go around, so that you are very visible to them and that you take their line away. When you put 10, 12 feet between cars, all of a sudden you're not nearly as visible in the mirror and the peripheral vision anymore, and the car that you think should see you literally cannot. And it's one of those things, we see it happen a lot when cars get together like that because of late moves and that big separation laterally at turning.
Problem there for Rob Walker in car number 42. Excuse me, it's Kevin Madsen in car number 42.
And here's a little more push and shove, and I think that was the 10, the red, white, and blue car, and then 42, I think. Kevin Madsen in the 42. And I don't know, I mean, again, that was Ashton Harrison, who in the 10, who has massive experience, a championship-winning driver. I think she thinks she's cleared Madsen and she's going to turn back down on the line, but she hadn't gotten by him yet.
I tell you what, there's a lot going on in this motor race, aren't there? We've still got, what, 13 and a half minutes remaining, and still a lot to be sorted out. You know, still there's a lot of really good racing going on here. All the classes still really to be decided. There's not much to choose between in any of the categories right now. I think the biggest lead of anybody is, well, barely a second. In the class, number 8 car, by the way, just coming into the pit lane. Is that its penalty? Yes, incident responsibility.
Yes, incident responsibility.
Drive through.
And that's costly. This is a long pit lane, and we'll see where Nick Persing re-enters the racetrack, but you don't drive to protect a championship by cruising around in 8th or 10th position, but you do have to be wary of moves like that. The only good thing for them right now is when you look at the 66, second in the championship, AJ Muss and Joel Miller. Remember, they had problems early on. They're being shown back in 8th position, so that's going to be painful there. Where are they on the racetrack? The 8 is out, and let's see where he rejoins. It will put the 14 up in front of him, I believe, so it's going to change the running order on the racetrack. I don't know how much it will change the championship, but they may have dodged a bullet here. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, meantime, there's kind of the 4 moving his way through Kiko Porto, and he is closing now on the race leader, Loris was now Bryson Morris in car number 30. Who was that running off the road? Was it number 99?
Yes.
Yes. So that was the lapped car then of Rocky Baldock, who's lost a position now to Rodrigo Vargas, so he's back to 3rd position in the class. Both of those two now have just been lapped by our overall leaders. Still in car number 30, Bryson Morris, but that gap has come down considerably to his teammate Kiko Porto, who is still very much in the championship record.
A lot to be decided from here at Indianapolis in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action. Just one more race here in the U.S. That is tomorrow, race number 1 of the weekend, closing down on 11 minutes to go, and we've already seen plenty of action. Bryson Morris out in front right now in that Anthem Motorsports Lamborghini of Broward Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. And think about Bryson Morris. That young man has been busy driving race cars recently, and they're so different, Jeremy. He's running in Pilot Challenge here in the IMSA paddock this weekend, driving with Taylor Hagler aboard a Hyundai Elantra. He's running in another series in a Corvette Z06 GT3R. So, I mean, the Corvette and the Lamborghini are probably more similar, but he's excelling in all of them.
Yeah, he's a very talented young man, no doubt about it. And, but he's got some pressure on his hands now because right behind him is Kiko Porto, who is from Brazil. He's a former winner of the USF 2000 Championship, part of the USF Pro Championships Road to Indy, the open wheel development that leads towards the NTT IndyCar Series, the Indy 500. Money problems he won a lot of money to move on up to the next level, but he wasn't able to progress beyond there. So Alan Nadal and Ansa Motorsports and Patrick Otto Madsen giving him an opportunity to drive this car. He's taken it absolutely with aplomb. He's won already a couple of races this season. I mean, there's 3 race wins this season for Kiko Porto and Nico Germain, and was leading the championship. They slipped back to 3rd place in the points now, but still 3 races to go.
There's the 8 and the 86, and I'm thinking about Nick Persing right now as we were talking about Kiko Porto, because after round 4, Jeremy, I would have told you that Porto and Jamin were going to be sailing to this championship in the pro category. The first 4 races, 3 wins, a 3rd place finish, 2 pole positions, and they looked invincible. And then in the last 4 races, only 1 podium, 1 other top 5, and the rest of them have been well down in the order, still in the top 10, but it's kind of reminiscent of what we saw with Persing. It can go away so quickly, and for that team, he and Nate Stacey, they won the first time out, then a bad finish at Sebring, 0 points at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in race number 1 there. They came back, won the 2nd race, went to Watkins Glen, had a bad race 1, finished 2nd in the 2nd race, and then went to Coda and won both of them. And they've gone up and down in the championship. And when you walk in here with a 2-point lead over 2nd place and really only a 14-point lead over 3rd place, you cannot afford mistakes that way. If you lose a position on the racetrack to a competitor, that's one thing. If you lose positions on the racetrack and points because of a mistake, that's another.
Yeah, talking of championships, this number 88 car is very much in that championship mix. In fact, it's leading in the pro class with, it's now Ernie Francis Jr. driving this car, taking over from Gianno Torino. Did a nice job in that early part of the race. He settled into 4th position. And now in the ladder stages, Ernie Francis has clearly got pace. He's overhauled and overtaken Ryan Norman in the car with which Danny Formal and he have won 2 of the last 4 races, and up into 3rd position now for Ernie Francis. And this gap, for this battle for the lead is still ongoing. There's only about a second in between Bryson Morris, who leads, and Kiko Porto in 2nd position, and 2nd of the Ansa Motorsports cars as they head towards turn 3 and 4 here. But only about a couple of seconds behind them now, and closing is Ernie Francis Jr. in car number 88 for TR3 Racing.
Well, and think about it, Porto and Jamin, I talk about their bad luck the last several races as the 77 has a problem. They're not that far out of the championship lead, only 11 points, so they could factor in, and I find it fascinating, this battle between Torino and Francis, and then the teammates of Ryan Norman and Danny Formal. Those 2 pairings have scored the exact same number of points with finishing positions over the last 4 races. But for Ryan Norman and Danny Formal, they have the advantage in total point score because of pole positions. And that's something that we can't forget either. 88 flashing around back onto the banking. We can't forget that either, because pole positions are key. It's 1 point for a pole, and the number 1 team has more pole positions than the 88. So, I mean, this is fascinating. It's going to come down to the line here when we get to Spain and get to the World Finals, but a lot of it can get mixed up even tighter today if the number 4 car stays in front.
Yeah, very much so. It's Bryson Morris leads this race, but for the championship, Ansa Motorsports, they've been much better off if there was a change between those top 2. Meanwhile, in 4th position on the road now, we've got a couple of lapped cars going to get past Rob Walker. That's car number 1. That's Ryan Norman. And again, those top 3 cars in the championship are really close together and very closely matched as well. Last time around, once again, it wasn't Kiko Porto was fractionally quicker last time around than was Ernie Francis.
Bryson Morris leads overall and in the pro category of Lamborghini Super Trofeo from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And great battles all around the racetrack now. The 46 trying to, in contact there, and that's going to move him out of the way. What are the officials going to say about that? That is Tom Capizzi behind the wheel of the 46, and the 72, Patrick Liddy being aggressive, trying to work his way to the front.
Yeah, and meantime, in that Pro-Am class, number 55 car, it was Kjorn Tanden who drove the first hit. Now it's Hannah Grisham. You talked about Hannah just a little while ago, didn't you, Brian? And she has really done a fantastic job at the wheel of a Lamborghini for the very first time. She's been driving for the Marshall Racing Aston Martin team in a different sports car series and showing extremely well. And now we can see the ability that Hannah has. She's done a really nice drive here. She's 5 seconds ahead of Garrett Adams, the number 64 car, who took over from Luke Berkeley in the MLT Motorsports entry car number 64. It's number 55, then the Fly Alliance machine, 447 Motorsports, that leads the way in Pro-Am, 7th position overall.
Yeah, very impressed with Hannah Grisham, and more importantly, not the speed that she is showing today, or as of late. I've had the opportunity to watch her over the last year or so, and her progression has been stellar. That part of racing program has done such a great job with bringing her along as a driver, and it shows here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
It does, and yeah, there's a lot of talent there, obviously in an organisation, a huge amount of experience, and she has gained from that, and it's great to see her driving different cars and showing as well as she is right now. There's another position there lost, I think, for Slade Stewart. Was that Joel Miller looking down the inside?
Joel Miller that has gotten past.
Yeah, so that's for 6th position then in the Pro-Am class. Joel Miller came into he's sharing that car, of course, with AJ Muss, who got punted off early on, had that spin. And now Joel Miller back up into 6th position in the class, and that's certainly good for his championship aspirations, with the number 8 car having had its own problems self-inflicted with that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at the Pro-Am category, and Nick Persing moved to the back there with that drive-through penalty. He's about 11 seconds behind the 14, trying to work his way forward, and there's a problem. And that was, if you're gonna spin in the final corner, you'd like to do it at the entry and not at the exit, because there are no walls around at the exit, or at the entry, I should say. So take a deep breath, then get back underway. That was a close call there for Sam Shee aboard the 98. Not exactly sure what happened. You don't typically have issues in the middle of that corner like that, but rear end steps out a little bit. And remember, it's late in the going, track temperature still very high, just now getting into the double digits from the triple digits, and you've used all of the go fast out of the hand-cooked tire, and you got to really hold on in the final goings. That's why it's so important to be able to hold on, and for Slade Stewart, he does not.
Around he goes at turn 1. He was running in the 7th position in Pro-Am. Just before that, we got a glimpse of number 88 car, Ernie Francis Jr., the bright red car. Let's have a look and see what happens there to Slade Stewart. Was he pushed or did he jump?
Oh, I know what he does, yeah. The car that goes by him checks up at the exit. He's afraid he's gonna go off the corner, and Slade Stewart, right there on the edge, has to get in there and try to slow the car down and turn it so he doesn't get into the back of the other Lamborghini who had just gone by. When he does, it just comes around, gets the weight on the nose, and around it comes. Looking at that Pro-Am championship, though, what I'm seeing is Joel Miller up in the 6th position aboard the number 66 right now, and Nick Persing 2 positions behind. They're well down in the order. It would be a points gain of just a couple of points for AJ Muss and Joel Miller, but how many points were they separated by when they came into today's race? 2.
Yeah. So that could be, and Miller's made another position. Was Slade Stewart able to rejoin after that spin ahead of Nick Persing, or did Persing get past?
I think Persing got past.
Did he? Okay, fine. So that'll leave him tied on points, but then for tomorrow it's Joel Miller who starts with the pole position. That, like you were talking about it earlier on, could be a crucial championship point for that number 66 car.
Right now, Bryson Morris still holds down the point aboard the number 30 from ANSA Motorsports. Just behind him, the 4 from ANSA as well.
Look,
now, let me ask you this.
Look who's right behind him.
Yeah, so what are you saying on the radio right now to Bryson Morris?
Well, good question. If you're his co-driver, Loris Cabru, you say bring it home. If you're the teammates' car, they say, let us go past so we can go for this championship.
I mean,
so,
that would be big, would it not? I mean, Porto and Jameen would gain significant points, right? And close down on both Francis Torino and Formal and Norman. You would want that car up there, but you're going to have to explain to Bryson Morris and Loris Cabarrou that, hey, take one for the team. Don't win in Indianapolis so your teammate can.
Right. Yeah, you're going to tell a 19-year-old to hand the win to somebody else. Yeah, right. That ain't going to happen, is it? But it's been a super job here by both of those two. Bryson Morris is going to bring that car home. But what a drive Ernie Francis Jr. has put on in that third position. He's closing in. I don't think he's quite close enough. Just 2 corners to go now for Bryson Morris, looking for his first win in Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
Bryson Morris out of the final corner for the final time. He will see a checkered flag displayed, waiting for the 30 to cross the line. There it is. No team orders for ANSA Motorsports. The 30, Bryson Morris, Loris Cabarrou, they claim their first victory in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. In LB Cup, Nick Grote holds the championship lead. And out of the final corner, looks for that checkered flag and looks to extend his championship lead. He will do just that as Nick Grote wins at the Brickyard. In Pro-Am, the 55, young Hannah Grisham. A win at Indianapolis. Could she have ever thought this when she came into the weekend 1 for 1 in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America? Her first race, her first win, and she shares it with Keon Tandon. And then the 69, your winner in the AM category, Glenn McGee, Anthony McIntosh, they lead that championship, and you see why as they take yet another victory in the 2024 season. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, good stuff, wasn't it? That was a tremendous motor race there, and for several of the championship leaders there, a really good day, particularly in AM there for Anthony McIntosh and Glenn McGee, coming home to their 4th win of the season and 3rd consecutively to extend their lead in the AM Championship. For Nick Grote also, that's his 3rd win of the season to extend his lead there. And just looking to see how the Pro-Am cars come across the line. Joel Miller will finish 5th and Nick Persing in 8th. So that should, I think, put the Joel Miller and AJ Muss ahead by 1 point heading into tomorrow's race. But what a great overall drive there for Loris Cabarrou and Bryson Morris to come away with their first win for ANSA Motorsports.
Yeah, you saw the unofficial results there. It was a great one. Championships, they are still on the line. We are not done. 3 races to go in the 2024 season. 1 more race from right here, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Brickyard. There is a look at the unofficial results again. That great win for Hannah Grisham, Keon Tandon. Tandon has shared a Lamborghini with several different drivers this year. First time they have taken the checkered flag in first position, and Hannah Grisham, this is one that she will most certainly remember. What other stories do you see in there in the 4 different classes, Jeremy, as you look through the results?
Yeah, just some tremendous racing all the way up and down the field. There were a very costly mistake there by Nick Persing in number 8 car for the car that was looking to take the win in the Pro-Am class. Instead gets a penalty, finishes back in 9th position. Very, very costly. Another great run though for Nick Grote for One Motorsports in car number 57. Takes the LB Cup lead into 22nd position overall.
And you see there in the back, Slade Stewart, Andy Lee, and I think about how we talk about championships change. And remember, that duo went into Circuit of the Americas with the championship lead in the Pro-Am category and had just a dismal weekend there, and then they got beat up on today as their celebration. See Bryson celebrating with that ANSA Motorsport team. Great results for them, no team orders, and that's what you like to see. The championships, they are closing down. So is the season. 1 more race stateside. Then we head to Spain for the World Finals. For Jeremy Shaw and Brian Tell, thanks for joining us today. 1 more to go from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. Make sure you join us.